Hey everybody, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Embrace It, Your Beautiful podcast with Coach Nadia J. Will here. I am back with another episode. And so today we'll be talking about the power of community. The power of community. I want to jump right in because this podcast is late. This podcast was supposed to go out on Sunday night, and due to circumstances beyond my control, I wasn't able to go and record it. But I'm glad that I didn't because God changed our topic. God changed our topic. We're going to cover the topic that I originally was planning to cover on a different night. But tonight we're going to be talking about the power of community. And I think this is an important topic as you guys are coming into the podcast and learning more about me, and I'm learning more about you. This topic is important to me because when you're starting a new, I would say collective, when you're starting something new, sometimes you don't want to start things alone. And sometimes in walking alone, you desire friendship, or you desire companionship, or you desire community of people that understand you. And so I wanted to talk about community because as we start this in podcast, Embrace It, You're Beautiful, the goal here is to create a community space where we talk collectively about believing God, about believing in yourself, about believing in your purpose and God's plan for you being here, born on earth. And so as we go into this particular topic, I really think that it's something that we should look at. I actually think that God thinks this is something that we should look at because I really had a totally different topic for tonight. We were supposed to talk about the power of an embrace. That was our original topic, but things have changed with my studying, and this is where God is leading me. I had to really pray coming into this because I won't lie that recording this podcast should have been done earlier today, and I didn't do it earlier today because I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know what it was. I knew I had to record this podcast. I got ready to do it, and I just wasn't feeling it. And I guess that's what life be lifing is about. But let's just jump right in because I'm kind of blabbering right now. And I really want to get through the different points that I've highlighted or I researched and put together in preparation for this podcast. So, community, as you know, without doubt, is a very important thing that's central to the human experience. Without community, we wouldn't survive. Like the world that we live in, the world that we've come to know, post-COVID has seen an increase in loneliness. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. But what I wanted to point out is that what is community? Have you ever thought about the definition? Because I know even when I was researching, I was like, communities is a group of common people. And it's true. A community is defined as a group of people living in the same place or having particular characteristics or belief systems that they have in common. It is also considered a fellowship, where you have common attitudes, interests, and goals. And so Oxford Dictionary told us that that's what community is. So, as we think about community, it's really important that, that we learn that we have this community. Because when we have community, we have a sense of belonging. We have somebody that we can share our life with or we can relate with. We have a group of people that can support us, or we're supporting each other, I should say. And we have our we're supporting each other, and we're existing in a similar environment. Communities are very important when it comes to building your tribe. I know there's a term that we float around nowadays, like, oh, this is my tribe. Let me go find my tribe. And it's the truth. Like finding your tribe is really important. So as we go through this, we're going to continue to be talking about the importance of finding and building a supportive community. And at the end of this whole podcast, we're going to talk about actionable advice or activities that we can do so we can find like-minded individuals, so we can find our community, our like-minded community. And I'm hoping that Embrace It Your Beautiful podcast, like our community, the our collective, that's what I call our community, the embrace you or embrace your beautiful collective. I'm hoping that you would want to join and stay a member of this community, because in this community we're about promoting, believing, like I said, what God says about you, and embracing it and holding it, which is why my original topic was going to be embrace. Because embracing is so important, but let me not focus on that. Famous motivational speaker, Jim Rohn, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he says that we are the sum total of the 5 people that we're around. Essentially, we are the sum total of the 5 people that we're closest to, or the 5 people that we're typically around. So who's your 5? Who's your first 5 people that you will standardly call? Because if you look at that circle of people, those people are basically some total of who you are. You know, I have my 2 best friends. I have my son's godmother. I have my other college friend's wife. I have a childhood friend that we were, we served and grew up in church together. That's my top 5. You know, I have my sister Tati. She's also included in the group. And so, you know, these are my circle of sisters, my sister friends that I am, they're part of my collective. And you know, they're great, strong, very strong, opinionated women. And I love that beauty about them. That community gives me a space to be me. I can be silly, I can be serious, I can be spiritual, I can be all those things at the same time. And so, you know, take a moment and think about, write a list. Who are your top 5? Who's your top 5? Who's your top 7? Who's your top 10? You know, 10 is a lot. So, you know, if you can stick with your top 5, think about that. Who's your top 5? And look at their characteristics and traits, because those 5 people are sum total of who you are, you know? And so when you consider the circle of people that you run with, you know, like I said, what is your conversation about? You know, what do you talk about? Are you talking about things and people? Or are you talking about businesses, dreams, aspirations? See, these are the different things that we must consider when we talk about our circle of friends. And like I said, community is super essential to the human experience, because it allows us to have belonging and connectedness. Connectedness is really important. And I don't think that we realize how important, I don't think sometimes we realize how important it is to have people that are like you. Not like you exactly, but you have the same core values or beliefs. You know, because when you feel like you're seen, when you feel like you're known, when you feel like you're understood, you can be comfortable in who you are. You can be confident in who you are. And here in Embrace It Your Beautiful Collective, we want to encourage you to believe what God says about you, because I know the world will have us have all these crazy thoughts, you know, and we will think that we are the only ones, or we will think that that we're just not enough, that there must be something wrong with us because we're not doing the same thing, or we're not accomplishing the same goals, or what have you. Oh, I'm sorry. But I want you to know that that's not the truth. You know, yes, you want to have that sense of community. You want to have that trusting circle of friends that will encourage you and help you maintain healthy communication, and help you solve problems and give you support when you need it. And they can educate you, because, you know, my mom used to always say as a kid, she's like, one hand washes the other, you know, because you can't wash this hand without another. It makes it hard. You know, but if you have soap on this hand will soap this hand, you rub it together, then you will rub this part and then this part. Like, one hand really does wash the other. And that's the same way you have to think about friendship. You know, that's how you have to think about community, because as a community, you will encourage each other to be your best self. Especially that is if you have friends who are seeking to elevate, because you can also have a community that's seeking to pull you down. Like, they're in the dumps and they do everything to pull you down so you could be in the dumps with them, because, you know, they do say birds of a feather flock together, you know what I'm saying? And so it's really important to understand who is in your surrounding, who are the people that you run with. Are they helping you become a better person? Or they're just always, when you're complaining about life and how life is not fair, and they're like, yeah, I understand, I don't like that because my sister, or I don't like that because my brother, or I don't like that because of my father. Like, they're always agreeing with you with what you're talking about. It's okay, don't get me wrong, for having your friends to understand what you're saying, but they should understand and not like have you stay at that same point. Like, a friend, the Bible says a friend sticks closer than a brother. And the Bible also said that, we're supposed to elevate each other. So if you're down, you have a friend that can pick you up. The Bible says, I can't remember, but it's an Old Testament passage, and it basically says that two people together can fight off like a challenger, or two people together can keep each other warm. And that's talking about it from the perspective of a couple. But I dare to say, can we look at that passion from this perspective of a community? Because if of community coming together to encourage somebody who's down, or to lift somebody who's up, you will come together and help strengthen the person. Like in the Bible, there's a story about Moses when the Israelites were fighting, and Moses was holding up his arms. And as long as Moses was holding up his arms, Israel was winning. And anytime Moses' arm started to fall, Israel started to lose. So Joshua and Hur, that's his name, Hur, in the Bible, or was it Caleb? It's one of the two. It's either Joshua and Hur or Joshua and Caleb. They held Moses' arms up because Moses got tired, you know what I'm saying? And so they held him up, and in them these two men holding Moses' arm up, the community of Israel was successful in beating the army that they were fighting. And so as a community, if you are low and your community member sees that you're low, and they come to support you, that's elevating you. So like, for example, this weekend, this past Sabbath, when I was at church, my dissertation chair, was telling me like, you can't do this. You have to use your time better. You can't, be doing a lot of different things with other, things in church, because I am hands down a church girl. I like to participate in things. I'm a social butterfly. And so she was like, you really can't do that. And I got really upset to the point of tears. I was like, so what you were telling me, I don't come to church? She's like, well, if that's what you need to do. I'm like, I can't. I was like, I got upset. I was like, I can't do that. I do not function doing schoolwork only. I don't. I'm super social. I have to hang out with people. I have to be with my friends. And my friend Drea happened to see me in the process of me saying that. She just came beside me and hugged me, and she just put her hands on my head and put my head to hers, and she hugged me. And I literally just stood there and cried because I was frustrated. Like, writing papers for school and a dissertation is hard. Like, it's a lot of mental work to do it. You know what I'm saying? To write a thesis. And I was extremely frustrated because I know that this requires a lot of work to complete this degree. But I'm just like, do I have to lose myself and my friends in the process? Like, all week long, I don't really talk to my friends. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm busy doing schoolwork or taking care of my kids or just being a mom. And so, when there's an opportunity for me to do something at church, I'm gonna take it because I want to associate with other adults and just have that interaction. But it was nice to have that community, that sister who, and I know my dissertation chair is, she means well. She told me, she's like, I'm just trying to get you to the end. And I know she was. But in that moment, I was just frustrated because I'm tired. I'm tired of all the reading. I'm tired of all the writing. I'm just tired. I'm just tired, But that having that sister friend, which is a part of my community, she understood that I needed a moment. You know what I'm saying? And later on, after the conversation was over with my chair, she was like, how are you doing? And I'm like, this is really hard. And not to knock my dissertation chair. My dissertation chair is the greatest. She is the bomb.com, okay? She is a sassy sister who is super educated and she knows her stuff. And so she's just trying to help me to get to to get to my desired achievement. And so I have just, like, having a community that can understand is really important. Like, I have my two best friends. I don't get to talk to them a lot right now. And they're understanding because they know that of the work that I'm trying to do for the goal I'm trying to attain. And so I appreciate them for having that understanding, and giving me the space to do the work that I need to do. Like, I try to text periodically. I don't really take phone calls right now, but it's nice to know that they are there and that they're supporting. They call and they check in, or they text and they check in. It's nice to know that I have that community of friends who believe in what I'm doing. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of point out the five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wanted to point out the 5 pillars of community. Number 1 is communication. Like, you can't have a true community if you can't really be honest with them. Communication is key to keeping the lines of friendship, of association open. The next thing is collaboration. Your community should be willing to work with you, and you should be willing to work with them, to have understanding. That communication leads into that collaboration. Then the next thing is that it should be have inclusivity, not like it's like a country club of friendship where nobody else can get involved. Like, with some friendships, you got the ones that are closer, you got the ones that are a little bit out. But inclusivity is, your community should be inclusive. And because you guys got like similar beliefs. Then your next thing about your community, the next pillar of your community is empowerment. Your community should empower you to be your best. Some people have communities that empower them to be their worst. And that's really sucky because they all go down together. You know how they say, like, not only birds of a feather, but clams in a barrel will keep on pulling each other down because they're trying to climb over each other. You don't want them kind of friends, sweetie. And the last leg of the pillar of community is having good support. You want to know you have a good support system who is going to, like I said, lift you up. You don't want your support system to pull you down, because what's the purpose of that? These are essential for creating a nurturing environment where it's vibrant and it's social and you are uplifted to be your best person. Like I said, here at Embrace It, You're Beautiful, the purpose of this collective, this community, the purpose of this community is to encourage you to be your best self. That is the purpose of this community. We want you to be your best self. I want to see you be your best self. I want to see you be all that God called and made you to be. That is the purpose. So here, this community, we're going to encourage you to build bonds, build strong social bonds, to work through to have that shared identity. And the shared identity of this group is to believe God. Believe God with what he says about you. Believe God how he made you, not how man has defined you, but how God has made you. The next thing that I want you to know, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart, is that community the community that you're a part of should help you become better, and not only better, but to be transformed. The Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what the perfect and acceptable will of God is. Be ye transformed. You know that, my godmother, God bless her soul, she died at 108 years old, 109 years old. And one thing I remember her saying to me before I had children, she used to talk about it all the time. She got to a place where she was older. She and her sister lived together most of their life. They never married. And she was living in a nursing home because her sister died, and like I said, she had sold her house or whatever. She had a big house in Queens, and she sold it, and she was living in a nursing home, and she had refused to leave her room to go sit in the common area with all the other old people. And we used to ask her why, and she was like, and she told me one day, she told me and another person, she's like, because the Bible's clear, by beholding you become changed. And she's like, she refused to sit out into the community room because she didn't want to keep on seeing these old people. They were old like her or older, sitting in their chair with nobody to talk to, drooling on themselves, looking sloppy. She just had this way about her. She just didn't want to do that. And so she refused for years to sit in the community room because she fully felt that if she sat in this community room, she was going to become like everybody else. And that may have been wrong on her behalf by judging a book by its cover, but to a great degree it kind of was, because when she started to get sicker, she basically had to start sitting out there with the other people. You know, she couldn't stay in her room. They didn't want to keep in her room by herself, and And so sooner or later, she started to behave just like the people around her. Because she just got sicker, and she got sicker. And so the environment that she was in had an effect. And if she was alive to tell you, that's what she would say, for as long as she could, as long as she was clearing her mind, even though she couldn't move around a lot, she just refused to eat outside with everybody else, because she just didn't want to become like everybody else, for lack of a better way to put it. And I don't know if that's a good example, but that's the example that came to my mind. You want to have a community that surrounds you to empower you, to help you change and become your best self. You want to do that. There's times where I talk with some of my young people and I see how they're living their lives, and I'm not being judgmental, but sometimes you could tell by the pictures, even though they have a smile, you can still see sadness in their eyes. And sometimes when I talk to my young people, I see that. I see that some are happy, and it's great for those who are happy. I'm ecstatic for. But then some of them, you can see that they're sad. And you try to talk to them, and they just talk about how life has not been fair to them, and life has did this to them, and it's just like, have you ever thought about changing the people that you run with? Because maybe if you found a new circle, then you would elevate to something higher. In my family, I have different family members. I have people who associate with family. Like, I have watched them choose to hang out and associate with people on a higher level. But sometimes, people will look at you when you start to elevate with people who are doing better than you. It helps you raise your standards, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? If everybody in your circle is doing all the same thing, then how is anybody getting better? But if somebody from the circle of people you are in step a little bit higher, and if those friends want to still associate with you, that's what they're going to do. They're going to step higher to come up with you. And then if, maybe the next person will step up higher, then you're going to circle and you want to come higher with them until, you become the best person, the best person you can possibly be. So that is the power of community. A community can uplift, or a community can tear you down. And so, those benefits are really good collectively to help boost your self-esteem and boost your willingness to take on the world and to make the dreams that you have come true. Sometimes I think that when we are stuck in a community and we don't go past the community lines, we never get this chance to see what the world is really like. Something that I admire about my mentor, a person that I call him my mentor, even though he's not formally my mentor, Eric Thomas, ETD Hip Hop Preacher. That's the thing that I love about him. From watching him from college days to seeing where he's at today, one of his biggest things, one of the biggest ideas or principles that he follows, that is something that I look forward to doing in the future, is creating experiences. One thing Eric Thomas does, one thing ET does, is that he will take, students who are, top of their class or doing well in school. He'll take them on trips. He'll take them to Dubai. He'll take them to the Caribbean. He'll take them on cruises. He'll take them to these different places to give them these experiences that they would have never had on their own from their family that they came from, because, a lot of them live in low income communities. Their family don't have the money. They're like the first one to go into college, etc., etc. And he'll take them on these, like, worldwide, like these wild trips to places that literally they would have never gone to on their own. And he reports and he shares how some of these kids, when they go on these trips, their mind is blown by the experience. And their mind is blown by the experience so much, being in the community of other young people like them, you know what I'm saying, coming from a kind of same neighborhood kind of community type of mindset, poverty stricken or whatever. They come and they have this experience, and he says, like, you can do anything you can do. Like, there's a book that he wrote, like, You Ain't the Boss of Me. Like, I read that with my kids about a year ago, and it comes with a DISC assessment. So let me do a plug here. And I know it's not, he ain't asked me to do this, but let me do this plug. E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher has a book called You Ain't the Boss of Me. Any parent who's watching this video, go and buy that book for your child. With that book comes 4 DISC assessments. I don't remember what DISC means, but DISC assessment basically talks about your personality. And the way Eric has structured it, it's set up where it lets you know if you're the pilot, the flight attendant, the ground crew, and traffic control. 4 different qualities. He's been able to, like, streamline it. And basically, if you take the assessment, you will find out, what are you? Are you the D? Are you an I? Are you an S? Are you a C? Let me look up on my computer here exactly what DISC is so I can tell you, because I don't want to tell you wrong. Give me 1 second. So DISC assessment is a personality assessment. It's a behavioral self-assessment tool that helps people to understand themselves better and others by identifying their personality traits. The acronym DISC stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And so that's one way to put it. Another way to put it, talk about your drive, your influence, your support, and your clarity. And so when you do these tests, it will tell you whether you're I high or a high D or a high C or a high S. And so when you break down the DISC assessment, it's a really good tool to help you figure out how the type of person you are. So people who are typically an I are like influential leaders. And people who are like a C, they're really good at conscientiousness. So they're disciplined and making sure certain things happen. They're very analytical. They're reserved. They're precise. They're systematic in what they do. D is dominance, meaning that they're direct. They're results driven. They're firm. They're strong-willed. They're forceful. I is for like influence. So they're outgoing, they're charismatic, they're enthusiastic, they're high spirited, they're lively. And then steadiness, S is for steadiness, or what's the other word I gave you? Yeah, steadiness. S is for like they're even tempered, they're accommodating, they're patient, they're humble, they're tactful. So these different aspects of a personality, we're high in one and low in another. And so it basically creates the balance of who we are. And so in his book, You Ain't the Boss of Me, for kids, they have DISC assessment. And like I said, it has 4 tests in it. So if you have 2, 3, or 4 children, let all 4 of your children take it so you can know what their strengths are. And then you can help them, grow and raise them according to their strengths. But either which way. So I just wanted to share that with you briefly. So consider that book. That's a plug that I would recommend. It's a really good book for kids to help them understand who they are. But with community helps bring about strengths. It helps you reinforce, it helps you give you the to go, to try. If you have a really good, healthy community, it'll push you to try and be your best. And so there are a couple of things that I want you to understand about a community. Community brings about sense of belonging, and that helps solidify your identity. What your identity is, if you have a healthy group. It helps you have better health. It helps create opportunities to network and to learn new skills, to get to know people. It also promotes, like I said, empowerment. It's great for emotional support. It is great for safety and security. It's great for influence. And a good, healthy group will help you reduce stress and isolation. So one thing I want you to know is that if you're intentional and your commitment, and committed, you can have a good circle of friends, but you have to be intentional. And I know I've mentioned sometimes, about the different type of community members that you can have, but I really want you to know that you have to be intentional. Like what you want, like I told my kids the other day, what you want to be, you're now becoming. So the type of person you see yourself in the future, you're becoming that today. And that's for the teens who may be watching this, but for the adults, Lord, look, if you want better than where you at now, then make a decision to change your community. You know what I'm saying? To educate yourself, to learn new skills, change your community, and to become better. Because what you don't want is to be in a community and feel lonely. What you don't want is to be in a community and, you just feel like you're not seen or not known, like you're not understood. And sometimes when we in our communities, we don't feel understood. I know there's times where I've had friends or friendships where I'm just like, this is my community of people that I'm gonna hang out with. They like, I know them. I'm sorry. But we grew and we changed and we became different based on who we hung out with, And so, sometimes we have to change our community, because we're lonely. And especially post-COVID, when you don't have a community, you are more likely to get sick. And that I found really interesting today when I was looking it up. I didn't realize that lack of community leads to loneliness, and loneliness leads to illness. That was really interesting to me when I discovered that this week. When I was looking it up today, because a Harvard research study said that 61% of adults ages 18 to 25 reports feeling serious loneliness. And the general population is at 39%. I'm just looking at my computer here. The Surgeon General has said, had an advisory report that found that loneliness increases the risk of premature death by 26% and isolation by 29%. It also noted that feeling lonely, the American Heart Association also noted that feeling lonely also increases a person's risk of a heart disease by 29% and the risk of stroke by 32%. Can you imagine the amount of stress that your body must be releasing in order to get sick? To you so lonely, you have so much anxiety that you're turning on hormones that is causing you to get sick, that's causing your heart to develop heart disease, and it's causing like constriction of your vessels or blockages or whatever, enough to give you a stroke. That to me is absolutely crazy. And so we have to be intentional about building social connections in our life. The Bible talks about community as well. And what we don't sometimes think about is the fact that God exists in community. I know some people, like my ex-husband, he used to be one that he was like a man on the island. It was the most interesting thing to watch. He never really associated with anybody. When he did, it's because he was talking and showing off. But outside of that, he always kept to himself. And even while he was married to me, and it was really interesting. And I used to always tell him, make friends. You can't be a man on an island. Make friends. Because you literally cannot survive on your own. Look at the movie, was it Forrest Gump? Not Forrest Gump. That, I can't remember the actor name, but the actor who was in Forrest Gump, he did a movie where he was a man stranded on an island, and his friend was a baseball or a basketball or something like that he talked to all the time. And when he was trying to get off the island, the ball ended up going in the ocean and going away. And he was so sad because that was his only source of communication. That was his community, a ball. And he barely could withstand it. He couldn't survive. So I pointed out to say that God made us to operate and live in community. God himself was made in community. And so when he made us in his image, he made us to live and to exist in community. Just like he did, and being in community, it helps us share the gospel. If you look at the Acts church in Acts chapter 2, you will see that they came together. They were in agreement together. People sold their things and used the money to feed each other because they were demonstrating the gospel that Jesus said in Matthew 28. He said, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost." And so, in this experience, the church of the book of Acts, they lived out the gospel and lived practically what Jesus asked them to live. We cannot have relationship without love. And we cannot have community without love either. And so it's really important for us to be lovers of God so that we can be supportive in community. And so in being supportive in community, that makes us powerful, that makes us strong. Hebrews 10:24 talks about stirring up one another in love, and John 13, I think 34 and 35 also says the same thing. He says to love each other because, we need to love each other. Love covers sin. Another thing about community is essential for helping disciple or bring sanctification. Community is essential for helping each other grow into the best of persons that they could be. As we looking to wrap up this video, because I'm watching the time, there's some suggestions, some things I want to share with you. So let me give you 6 suggestions. 6 suggestions to help you form your own community. 1, start. Pay attention to your surroundings. Look for somebody who shares similar values to you. Have small talk, essentially, with people so that you can find people who are like you. And excuse me, I'm sorry. If you start looking for community, you're gonna find it. And having conversation is the best way to start. Just start. Pay attention to what people do, and you'll get a vibe. Well, okay, I could be their friend, or you get a vibe and like, nah, this is not for me. The other thing is, like I said, meet people with the same shared interests, ideas, and passions. Once you found those people, then find a place where you guys can hang out. Where is a place that you can hang? Let's say you guys are into double dutch, so sometimes you hanging out in the park on weekends. You going and you're skipping double dutch. For those of you who are teenagers, do they even do jump double dutch anymore? I don't even know if they do that anymore. Or go if you like to go to restaurants, or you'd like to take trips. Try that. But part of me was like, with that trip thing, I'm thinking about the young lady who went on a trip with the people that she thought was her friend, and she had never came back home alive because her friends were jealous of her for whatever reason. And so that makes me kind of hesitate with telling you go on trips with them. But find some place where you guys can meet regularly, whether it's a bookstore or a library or a Starbucks cafe or at a restaurant, something. Find some place where your community that you're making can meet. Bring new people in, invite your friends, and let your friends bring other people. Create a healthy environment and culture. Be inclusive in your conversations and help each other grow. Help each other to become a best person. Those are some ideas to help you form your own community. What I want to leave you with before I leave you this last question to consider as we go out. These are a list of things that I would recommend in finding your community. Number 1, sit with yourself and be honest. Sit with yourself and be honest, and make sure and look at what your likes and dislikes are. Evaluate what you're really about. Because once you have that understanding, then you can go out there and find friends, because you have these values that you're holding to, and you have these absolutes that be like, nah, this is not a goal for me. So like me and you can't be friend deuces. The other thing I would say is to be brave and courageous. Step out of your comfort zone and to meet new people. Be transparent. Don't give out too much information, but be transparent enough to meet people, to have conversation, to have small talk, and trust your instincts. Trust your instincts as you're trying to build this community. Because if you get a vibe that, don't second guess your vibe. Don't let what they're saying convince you otherwise. If your vibe feel like they're not the one, then it's okay. Be like deuces. That is all right. The other thing I want tell you is consider trying something new, something you've never done before. Like one of my friends, Shiv, she jumped out of an airplane in her 20s. That was the most amazing experience she ever did. I was not there to see, but I saw the videos. And for me, that's not for me. That's too extreme. But it opened her eyes to the possibilities of what she could do. Because she jumped out of a plane. How many of us is going to jump out of a moving plane on a parachute? But she did it. And so it opened her eyes that even if it's something scary to be done, do it anyway. And that is something that I think that she got from it. It opened her eyes to the possibilities of what she could do. The next thing that I would tell you is join an online group. So with that being said, join an online group so you can meet new people, make friends, and with people who have similar, same common values, desires, and beliefs like you. Now for me, this Embrace It Your Beautiful podcast, we have a collective online. We have a collective in the Geneva app. So if you go on your Apple phone or your Microsoft phone or whatever the other one, Android, that's what it's called, Android phone, because I'm an Apple girl. If you go on your Android phone, look at the Geneva app, which is Geneva, Geneva app. Sign up for it and then go in it. And there's a whole bunch of groups on the app, first of all. But if you want to join our group at the Embrace It Your Beautiful podcast, our collective is called Embrace Your Beautiful. So if you look it up, you'll see our logo there. It's in blue and purple, or green. It's like a greenish blue and purple. Join the collective, come into the community and meet like-minded people. You can also find us on Facebook. Check us out on Facebook, Embrace It You're Beautiful, just like our podcast name. Look for us there and come and join the community. We have people that you can talk with. I'm there. Some other members are there. Just join the collective and, let's talk about how we're going to be our best self, because that's what we're here to do. That's what this podcast is here to do, to encourage you to believe in yourself, believe in the person God made you to be, and then become the person that he called you to be. I don't know why I feel itchy. Anyway, the next thing I would say to do is in finding your community is call a friend. Sometimes we think that people are too busy, and sometimes we are, but call a friend. Ask, hey, you want to hang out in a week time? Maybe you have to schedule it. Call a friend and set some time to hang out. It'll help you to strengthen your relationship. The next thing I would say is ask for help. When you are trying to build your community, when you're trying to find your community, ask for help. Ask for help, because when you ask for help, you open the door and give people the opportunity to help you and to show up for you. Sometimes we pull back and say, well, I don't think they're going to help me. I don't think they're going to help me. I don't think they have the time. Don't make that assumption. Ask. I can tell you from experience, a lot of times I did not ask because I just didn't want to. Didn't want to interfere with people. I didn't want to be a burden, so I didn't ask. So I just struggled by myself. But in this season, one of my friends, Drea, she said to me, she was like, Nadi, if you need some help, ask. That's what she tells me. And so I'm learning to ask, and I'm learning to be humble and to ask for help when I need it. The next thing is pray and ask God to reveal and give you clarity and to bring you a new friend in your life. Let me tell you, God hears and answers prayers. And I was just telling one of the girls tonight, I enjoy the community of sisterhood that we have, and so sometimes you have to pray and ask God, and God, you keep on trying different things, and in the process, God will help you meet the person that will become your friend, and that person will become a part of your community. The next thing is visit a new church, or visit a new community center, visit a new something, a new library if it opened up, or a museum. Visit and try someplace new. Volunteer at a place that you may have. Maybe you love to take care of the homeless. Volunteer at a soup kitchen. Maybe you just like to do other things with the senior people. Volunteer to go spend time with older person at a nursing home. This is how you can meet people and make friends. And even if it's with the elderly, they want friends too, sweetie. They want friends too. The next thing is throw a gathering. This is one of my things to do. I love to have dinner parties on gatherings and have people over and make a big hoorah about it and have food and entertainment, like food, and we, entertain through playing games, having conversations. Look, don't be afraid. Be yourself. I say go with the throwing the party thing. That's going to be my vote. The next thing is start a book club or attend a book club. Maybe you start one with you and some friends, and there's a book that you read and you have discussions every week or discussions every 2 weeks. The next and last thing that I would suggest is explore trying a new craft or activity that you've always wanted to try, but you never have. Like, I've always wanted to go to a pottery place and like do pottery. Whether it be taking a pottery and the pottery's already made and I'm just painting it and putting it in this oven and, heating it up, or whether it's forming the pottery by myself, like a glass blowing class. Like, I've always wanted to do that. A glass blowing class. I know that rhymes, but like stuff like that. Try something different. Going on a yacht cruise or something, whether it be a dinner cruise. I know here out where I live, they do these hip hop cruises. Try something new so that you can meet people. So those are some 11 suggestions that I have for you that I would recommend when are my personal steps and suggestions to finding your own community. Lastly, because I think I've talked to you guys for long enough. This is the question I would like to ask you. Yes, it's one question. What is holding you back from living in community and having a biblically based community for those who are Christians? What I want to share to you is that it's utterly important that you live out your divine purpose. Not only for your sake, but for God's sake, but more so for your sake. Live out your purpose. Like, you will never be happy until you're living out the life that God has placed on your heart to live. And sometimes you need a community of people sometimes it's maybe not a need. God knows that it's good for you to have a community of people, of like-minded people who are doing the same thing as you. Yesterday when I was out in the garden at my church helping to, plant some raised beds at my church. One thing I noticed with one of the ladies that were there, because there was only 2 of us ladies. One thing I noticed about the lady who was there, she said, have you ever noticed that when you're doing the thing that you really enjoy, you never get tired? One of the things I enjoy is I love talking to people. I love having conversations. The other thing I enjoy doing is planning events. That is like my side thing. I love doing it. And I'm never tired of doing it. Never tired of doing it. My legs may hurt, my feet may hurt, my back may hurt, but I love planning events and seeing the look on people's faces. And so I'm sharing that to say, walk in your divine purpose. Take that leap. And yes, it could be scary, but take the leap. Make friends. Join that community. Invite that person over. Go out. Try new stuff. Do those things and be brave and be bold and be fearless, because that's what God made you to be fearless in the pursuit of the things that set your heart on fire. That's one of the signs on my walls. Be fearless in the pursuit of the thing that sets your heart or soul on fire. Be willing to jump out there. Be willing to take a leap of faith. You never know what you're going to discover. And if you're trusting God for leading you to your community, taking a leap of faith is the best step that you can take. Because when you take a leap of faith, God is going to help your foot to land in the place that it needs to be. And you will find the community that you need. And when you find that community that you need, then it will help you to become and to run the race that you were meant to run. The Bible says in Habakkuk 2:2, I believe, is write the vision and make it plain so that as you run, you can read it. And so if you desire to have your own personal community, let me invite you to embrace it, your beautiful collective. Like, this is a community where we're going to encourage you to dream big. We're going to encourage you to believe. We're going to encourage you to listen and hear, take time to understand what God says about you, and then embrace it. That's why we call it Embrace It You're Beautiful. It's your clarion call to believe God and to take that leap of faith and trust that his arms will hold you and catch you, to trust that he will have your feet land where it's supposed to, and then he will send you the community of people to make you feel whole. He can do that. I cannot do that for you, but what I can promise you, what I can offer you as a part of this collective is to walk beside you. What I can offer you, a part of this collective, is to dream with you. What I can offer you, a part of this podcast, this collective, is to continue to motivate and encourage you to proclaim into your life what I hear the Spirit of God saying to me. Like, this podcast is designed to help you embrace that, to help you to embrace and to hold that and hug it and to melt in God's arms as he helps you become all of you who you're supposed to be. That's what this podcast is about. This community is about. Community is about embracing the beautiful things that God has said about you. And his word from Genesis to Revelation says a lot. Like, it says so much. And he speaks intimately and personally to each one of us who takes the time to read his word, who takes the time to pray, who takes the time to listen. And so the power of community is choosing to not be afraid to be yourself, to be who God is creating to you to be. Embracing your beautiful, this community is for people who are seeking to walk out their purpose and do it unapologetically and boldly and transparently, and knowing that you have a community of people who believe in the gift that God has placed on your life and will support you to that end. So that's it. I know that was a long podcast. This is almost 52 minutes. I just want to encourage you to subscribe, to share this video if you feel like it was something that somebody needs to hear. Yeah, I just want to encourage you to just embrace you. Embrace you, embrace your community, and don't be afraid to take a leap. Don't be afraid to live and believe. Believe what God has said about you. This is the community that's going to help you believe what he has to say. So I guess that last yawning is telling me it's time. So this is Coach Nadia telling you to like us on Instagram, and Embrace It Your Beautiful Coaching. Like us on Facebook, Embrace It Your Beautiful Podcast. Follow us, find us on the Geneva app, and Embrace It Your Beautiful. Where else can you find us? I'm trying to remember. Actually, I'm trying to look here online. Yeah. So we're on YouTube and Spotify, Embrace It Your Beautiful Podcast. We're on Facebook as Embrace It Your Beautiful. You can't miss that. You'll see it. It's a white sign and it says Embrace It Your Beautiful. Then you can find us on Instagram, Embrace It Your Beautiful Coaching. And like I said, on the Geneva app, Embrace Your Beautiful. So these are the 5 locations where you can find us on social media to connect with us, connect with me, connect with the group. And I'm welcoming you to come on if you want to schedule a discovery call, because I'm also a life coach, because you want to also embrace the beautiful that God has called you to be. Look me up on Instagram. You can hit my LinkedIn tree profile, and you can schedule a discovery call. And I don't know what else to tell you. Oh, a book. We are publishing a book. We are publishing a book for adults. It's a 14-day devotional called The Power of I Am. This is the importance. This book is about the importance of believing God, what he says about you. I am. Whatever word comes after that is what you believe in about yourself. So The Power I Am is a 14-day devotional. Will be coming out later on this summer. We have a kids book that goes along the same line. The boy one is done and the girl one is coming up as well. All these books are coming out this summer. And that's basically it at this point in time. So I just want to encourage you to like, share, subscribe. I thank you for spending time with us on today's podcast discussing the power of community. We're inviting you to join this community and just hope that you will hope to see you there. So this is Coach Nadia J. Will just checking out and saying good night. Deuces, and I will see you on Thursday night. Bye.